maybe a ring. After BCT, I stayed in Fort Leonard Wood for AIT, and then finally returned home in March 2004. The Iraq War had been going on for a year, and the military had captured Saddam Hussein. Heather is in her last semester of college, about to get her associate's degree, and still lives with her roommate in their apartment. As for my education, I'm now a full year behind the classmates in my graduating class, but I plan on starting community college in the fall. I guess I'll go for auto mechanics. For now, I continue working at the Denny's where I worked in high school. I'm no longer a greasy dishwasher, though. I've moved up and become a greasy short-order cook. It's decent work for being 18 and living at home, and of course, I spend the first weekend of every month at my reserve unit in Kingston, New York. The unit is fairly new to me, even though I visited a few times before I shipped out. I don't know most of the soldiers, but I still have a feeling of camaraderie with them. I made it through basic training. I am their fellow soldier now. That's where the camaraderie comes from. People understanding and accepting you without you having to prove yourself. As summer approaches, Heather and I move into an apartment in Troy together. I finally assume the responsibility of living on my own. The real world isn't such a scary place after all. Even though it's tiny and our neighbors are a little rude, this apartment serves as the foundation for the rest of our lives together. We talk over dinner, mushy romantic comedy stuff, boyfriends talking to girlfriends about things they would never even consider talking about with their buddies. Things like, I missed you at work today, sweetie, and poor Kitty has to get booster shots tomorrow. And which is a better aroma for our laundry, white lilac or summer breeze? We talk of marriage and kids and owning a home. We talk of the future. We talk of the Army. What happens if you get deployed? Heather asked me. I shrugged. You think you will? Yep, I say. She nods slowly, bites her bottom lip. So I'll pack my bags and give you a kiss. Maybe a ring, she asks. I smile and kiss her on the forehead. Maybe, I say. Historically, in peacetime, our country's military is all volunteer, but the Iraq War is different. Now, during wartime, our country's military is still all volunteer. There hasn't been a draft. Problem is, there aren't enough active duty soldiers to function in Iraq and Afghanistan the way DoD needs them to, so the reserves and National Guard are deployed. I never really think it's coming. I deny the inevitable of deployment. I doubt the drill sergeants when they tell me I'll end up in the sandbox sooner or later. I doubt myself when I tell Heather, yep, I'll be deployed. But my denial doesn't matter because duty comes first. I am standing in the unit administrator's office when it happens. The UA picks up the phone. The guy on the other line asks a question and the UA repeats it. Is Private Smithson deployable? He says. To me, he says, can you get me your 201 file out of that cabinet behind you and toss me a key? I turn around, unlock the filing cabinet drawer, and snatch my 201, my entire life history with everything from what hospital I was born in to my PT scores and basic training to what the MEPS doctor saw when he checked my asshole for hemorrhoids. The UA flips through the thick folder, pulls out a typed sheet containing some secret, returns it, and hands me the file. Yes, he says. The UA tells the guy on the phone. As I put the folder back, I say, no. Tell him no. And I try to make it sound like I'm joking. At least I finally have an answer to the question I've tried to answer ever since I enlisted. The $1,000,000 question. The first question people ask when you find out I'm in the military. Will you have to go to Iraq? In my head, the people is usually probably, jackass, and thanks for ringing up. From my mouth, the answer that usually comes out is maybe. People don't know what to say to this. They say, well, I hope not, or man, we shouldn't even be there, followed by a totally blank stare. In the civilian world, it makes perfect sense. A deployment roster months ahead of schedule. But this is not the civilian world. This is a place where we are property of the U.S. government, and there is no such roster. There's no convenient, all-knowing inventory of names and social security numbers. All the soldiers will be deployed in the new year, and there's definitely not a neat little dotted line where one can write, I respectfully decline. People don't understand, and I don't bother explaining that I'll be lucky to get a full week's notice before I'm deployed. So when I respond to the $1,000,000 question, I press my lips together, nod my head, and say, maybe. The phone call to my UA is from another engineering unit out of West Virginia. This reserve unit is just like mine here in New York. For 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, the unit fills up with engineering soldiers, and they train. They do their MOS. The way the Army works. Well, I have no idea how the Army works, but for this one soldier, at this one moment during this one war, the way the Army works is like this. A general somewhere needs an engineering unit in Iraq. In one way or another, he finds a unit in West Virginia. This reserve unit, like most others, is not at what the Army calls full strength. They have to pull soldiers from other units, oftentimes in other states. This is called cross-leveling. Hence the call to my unit administrator in New York. The unit cross-levels soldiers until it is at full strength and can therefore accomplish whatever mission it needs to do in Iraq. The unit ships off all its personnel and equipment to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. This first stage of a combat tour is mobilization training, and I'm sure there's an acronym for it. So when I receive the call in September that I'm being deployed to Iraq, I don't enroll in college. I don't call my buddies for one last night on the town. I don't find some sleaze in a bar and take her home. I get on one knee and ask Heather to be my wife. People ask me why I got married at 19. They think I must have knocked up some girlfriend. Any kids? Is always the second question. People assume I'm just naive, or that my decision has something to do with money or car insurance, maybe tax breaks. Really? The answer is none of the above. See, a girlfriend means nothing to the Army. Neither does a fiancé. Anyone other than your spouse or legal guardian may as well be your pet goldfish. If anything happens to me while I'm deployed, unless the box for next of kin reads Heather Smithson's spouse, Heather won't get the phone call. She won't get the folded American flag. If I die in the next year, Heather would live her life saying she once had a boyfriend who died in the war. Within 2 weeks, we throw together a civil ceremony with a judge, a gown, 2 rings, flowers, a limo, cake, 30 friends and family members, and a reception at Buca de Beppo. The future is unknown. And during the ceremony at Freer Park in Troy, the fear of the unknown pervades. The wedding march playing on the portable radio is a rapid heartbeat. The roots of the flowers in the park are trembling. The warm September wind is icy mist on my neck. The pagoda overhead looms threateningly. Our families, frozen in this moment, are realizing that the promise being made today, this hello to our union, is in so many ways an elaborate goodbye. The whole situation, the way it's so sure of itself, yet so unsure of everything else, is just a lavish ceremony to say, I promise to be here if you come home.